So all of you out there know that I'm pretty much a hacker when it comes to mechanical design and building chassis. You know what my stuff looks like. You know, I drill holes, I use whatever tools I've got on hand, step drills, and, you know, simple shears and files and so on to get where we're going. And usually I come up with something like this that's got a bunch of knobs on it. And that's as far as I go mechanically. As we get into this auto regen thing, I wanted to have a platform where I could build on it several different circuits. Everything was laid out a little bit better, and I had some features on there that maybe I couldn't do here simply. It is actually so embarrassing that a former Soviet engineer was at a Hamfest, and he's a follower of the channel. He emigrated to the United States, and he felt so sorry for me, he dropped off a tabletop drill press so that I would at least have a drill press instead of using a hand drill to do my holes. So that shows you. I think I'm something in between my Australian cousin, VK3YE, who builds stuff on the top of coffee can lids, and Chappie Happy, who is a true artist. I mean, you could eat off his designs. So I'm something kind of in the middle, a regular tabletop hacker when it comes to mechanical. So let's see how I came up with the chassis for the auto regen we're going to be discussing next week. So what do we got here? This doesn't look like anything I could do. And actually, we're going to take a little road trip today. I have a good friend who has a machine shop, and he's a crackerjack engineer as well. He's an RF engineer, antenna designer, consultant. I've worked with him on projects and worked with him at one company. And I think it's time we did a little road trip and see how someone that knows what they're doing can accomplish when you really need something that looks a little better than what I can turn out here on the channel. So let's take a ride. So I'm in the car on a fairly rainy morning, going to be going over to get some help from a friend. You know, when you're limited with your resources or maybe your talents, you have a friend that has those talents. You want to call on your buddy, and that's what this mission is today. I need to cut out a front panel for a regenerative receiver, and that kind of metal work, I can do simple holes. You know, I have a drill press, but I've got a square hole I need done for a digital display, and I need to do a nice speaker setup on the front of the panel. Those are things that maybe Spencer can help me with. He's a successful YouTuber, fantastic RF engineer. I worked with him a couple of times. Apple called him to fix the antenna in the iPhone. You might remember the big book on antennas by Krauss. Spencer actually edited the latest version, Circular Antennas chapter. So this is a really talented individual. But his passion is machining and the machine shop. So today we're going to visit Spencer's machine shop and take a look at maybe what his YouTube channel is all about. So here we are in Spencer's shop, and he's going to take an edge off the front panel first. So now let's go over to the shear and shear it.
We're going to get a clean edge. This, you know, from the supplier, this was a shorn.
Well, I used a hacksaw. Okay. Oh, you mean the original supplier?
Right. Follow this. Yeah. Watch your step.
You're saying that nobody did the right thing anywhere in the process?
I didn't say that exactly.
Okay.
I'm just making sure we don't have any chips in here so that we don't.
I got tough customers, so, you know.
Very nice. Nice. Sheer delight.
Sheer
delight. Where to go?
You should recycle this.
Okay. That looks a little bit smoother. You're just going to dress the edge.
Yep. Files are over here. So this is a sacrificial flat plate that we hold in the vise. It's just a tool. And as you can see, it has done many projects.
Yeah,
so what
looks
I'm
like
going to do is I'm just going to go grab my flat file,
Yep.
and we're just going to kiss it.
So before we do any hogging of metal, we're going to make sure we don't have a scoogee on the platen.
Yeah. That's I like the way you
See,
said
you
that.
like how I said that?
So this is a weird situation because there's all these
Yep.
divots here, but the tops of them are all flat.
So what's your business, by the way? Making things flat?
Yeah. Well, I have two businesses. One is making antennas, and
Yeah,
one
so-
is making things flat.
Yeah.
Sometimes I make flat antennas.
Very nice.
But yes, I make PFG stones, which are very, 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 very flat stones for machinists who do precision work. Here's a good example. See that little scratch right there?
Yeah.
So I could feel that.
Yep.
So if we were doing work in ground steel, I would take a stone and I would stone it so that you can't feel anything. And that's what my stones do. All right, so we're going to
So
decide.
you're just like the antenna commander there, the DX commander that makes those antenna kits. And that's what he has a product that supports his channel, and his channel supports his product.
Yes. Actually, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because I have a channel, and we have a good time, but almost without trying, everybody knows about PFG stones because of the channel. And does that generate business? Yes. Am I happy about that? Also, yes.
And these machinists are from where?
Mike, worldwide, they're all over the globe. I have sold to, I stopped counting at 20 countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
People want these stones.
They do, and I'm having fun. It's not a high volume business, but
Yeah.
it is a business. I'm using a paper towel here just to protect the work that may or may not be brilliant.
Yep.
We'll decide in a few minutes. I'm going to get some clamps.
Okay, we're doing some clamping work here.
The question is, can you have too many clamps? And the answer is no. I have to double check my drawing.
Oh, yes.
My detailed drawing. So we're gonna do this guy. This looks like he wants to be like I don't know, kind of like that. Does that look
Yeah.
good to you?
Yep.
You are, after all, the customer. We want a circle 3.6, but we don't have a circle cutting tool. We have a circle trimming tool.
Yes.
So we're gonna take out the circle, some drilled holes, and we'll rough it out and rip out that piece inside, and then we're gonna come in with a fly cutter and just kiss the OD,
Wow.
and that'll make it molto buono, bene, bene, bene.
Well, that's too small for the speaker.
You need a smaller speaker. So we just drilled enough to make a nice cut
Through the thing, through the plate, through the paper towel, into the platen, which is what we want.
Right.
And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lock it there, and now I'm going to set a depth stop, so that's how deep we're going to go. And then we're just going to march our way around the plate in a very, very ugly fashion. Very ugly. And then when we're done uglying, and we can clear the plate out, we'll then bring in the fly cutter and make a nice...
Beautiful.
It'll be fantastic.
But the fly cutter's too light to do it all in one step.
It's not light. It would absolutely do it.
It's just it wouldn't be as accurate? Or?
Let me show you. All right, so there's the fly cutter, right? The shiny part of this bit will cut, but this won't cut.
Yeah.
So if we jam this thing in there, this is going to get unhappy.
Yeah.
And it'll make a mess. However, we can take off 1/8 of an inch of the wall, which is more than we need with this tool.
I see. So, yeah, if there was a tool that had an edge down on the bottom that could actually cut in, it would work.
If we had to, we could make such a tool, find such a tool.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm supposed to be doing good work for a tool. Wait, that didn't come out. So we're going to run the Bridgeport slower. We're in low gear here. So you can see the pretty slow. I actually might slow it down a little more. And we're just going to bring this guy up. And that's locked. And we should be good. I'm going to just zero this just so we don't lose that. I'll give it some WD-40. Here we go. Remember, one thing, when you use WD-40, never use too much.
Okay.
Okay, so when you heard the sound stop,
Yep.
and then you heard the sound start again,
Yep.
that was the thickness of the paper towel.
Got it.
We're going to take out the drill. Chuck. Wait, you're not Chuck. And I'm going to put in a proper collet for holding an end mill. And this is our end mill right here. And that guy is going to do the job.
That's going to give us the rectangular hole for the digital display.
Right, that's going right here.
Yep.
And this guy here is a 3/16 end mill. This guy is going to be 775.775 minus the diameter of the tool, which is 3/16, 0.1875 equal a number. That's how far our mill is going to move back and forth. We divide by 2. And there's our excursions, plus and minus 0.294 in Y. And now in X, it's 3.003 minus 0.1875 equals a number. And I'm going to divide that by 2 equals, and then plus or minus 1.408 in X. And those are the only numbers we need right there. Okay. So this is a coolant. This is a water-based, it's actually synthetic. It's designed for this job. This is called mist coolant. And it simultaneously blows the chips away, but also cools the tool off. And that's particularly important, believe it or not, in aluminum, because aluminum has a low melting temperature. So we like to use coolant. Touch that off, set that, Z, set that, and we're off to the races. So we basically are gonna drive this guy around.
Okay, I think we got a piece.
And that was roughing it. Now we're going to cut to dimension. All right. Just remember, don't use too much WD-40.
Yeah, there's a lot on there.
But the nice part about WD-40 and Sharpies is
Wow, look at that. It just comes right off.
it comes right off. So I'm going to run a deburring tool around here, which is cool to watch. I've got to go get one. And we'll clean that up. We'll clean this up. We'll be ready to go. When you use one of these on aluminum, make sure you're using a nice sharp one, because otherwise they can be kind of yucky to work with. And you can feel it when they start
Yeah.
smoothing out.
Yeah.
Just like you read about. Let's do this one. Nice. Now I'm going to take a countersink and just kiss these. I had some beauties in here. I did a whole video on countersinks.
Counter-revolutionary countersink?
Yes, in fact. All right. That's it.
You're holding it backwards. Very good.
That's it, right?
Nice.
Nice.
Now let's see if it fits.
You know about the gray Scotch-Brite, right? You know about Scotch-Brite?
Yes.
Yeah.
They
They got red and they got...
the red.
Yeah, the gray is the finer one.
Ah,
And if you look at the grain of the aluminum
yeah.
and you just
Go with the grain.
go with the grain, it'll take away a lot of stuff. But
Well, I'm not done with it yet.
I know. So here's your, come take a look. Here's your speaker. And that is the screw hole. There you go. What do you think?
I think you're registered.
I've been told I should be registered.
This is going to be hard because you've already put the
And
screws
I
in.
put the screws in.
But it does look like it fits.
Yeah,
We believe you.
yeah.
Okay.
And again, I told you before, but I'll tell you again, these corners have a radius on them, so you might have to go in with a file and just if you need it. But
I don't think we will. Remember, that's actually flush. It doesn't actually go through.
yeah.
So
So yeah, and Mike, I have a present for you. Here's a present from Kinetic Precision. A PFG stone sticker. Get flat, stay flat. That's for
very
you.
nice. Thank you.
Put that right here.
Thank you for all this magnificent machining.
Only for you, Mike. Only for you.
Got it. Okay, Spencer did some good work for me here, but we're not done yet. We still have to mount several parts beyond just the display and the speaker. I've got the mean tuning control, which is this variable capacitor. Now, this capacitor had two holes that were tapped 632, but there was a third hole that was not tapped. So I've run the tap in there. Now I have three 632 contacts on this variable capacitor. This is a nice one because it has a built-in vernier. Since we have a digital display, I don't have to worry too much about a dial. But the nice feature here on this capacitor is you actually could have a needle or a dial on this inner and it would have given you quite a nice dial on the front with some decent vernier action. Also, we have a main chassis that needs to be drilled. That's going to be basically in back of the panel on the other side. And I hope to get 4 controls in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So more drilling to go. Okay, the major parts are mounted. Everything seems to fit okay. I'm not really going to go any further this week, but I wanted to show you kind of the layout of the receiver. And the receiver is following a natural progression. On the right, we have the tuning dial and the tuning mechanism. That's basically where most of them are on most radios. And then from left to right, we have the phone jack, probably the RF gain control, I don't know, maybe a fine-tuning control or regen. And eventually you're working to the right where the on-off volume control would be. And then just a big old speaker on the front panel. So looking at the back, we have the digital display, the speaker, and a rather small chassis. That's probably a mistake. I should have used a larger chassis. It would have made everything easier, but that's what I had. Now, there might be some interference from the digital display, so I highly recommend having an on-off switch and maybe a plate across here to help isolate the digital from this fairly sensitive tuning control. That's it, folks. So that's this week. Mechanical engineering on a good regenerative receiver foundation. And we can do a lot of work with this foundation. We can build all sorts of different receivers here. Super heterodyne receivers, different types of regens, TRFs, tube type, solid state. It's just a easy platform to do experimenting with. And it makes life easier when you have a platform like this to build on. So that's what we'll be using for the regenerative project, the automatic regeneration control project coming up next week. So by the way, the last time we were here, I think we were turning out a couple of Paraset metal sets. Remember when we made some Paraset
Yes.
chassis?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on the channel that want to build those, so don't get any ideas, okay?
I have some ideas, but I'll share them with you later.